When you ask an MSP owner how they got started, the answers are always surprising. Some started by fixing computers in a spare bedroom. Others got pulled into it by a friend. But Tracy Hardin, she launched her IT business from the front seat of her pickup truck. Back in 2001, Tracy had just left a toxic corporate job, but instead of calling it quits, she turned it into a steady stream of client referrals, and that became a thriving IT business. She didn't just fix computers, she built Next Century Technology, a company that now helps businesses stay ahead with proactive IT solutions. Today, Tracy joins me to share her journey, the early struggles, the pivotal shifts, and how she went from break fix to a leading full service MSP. Let's dive in. Tracy, thanks so much for being here. Your story is really incredible. You literally started from a pickup truck and then into a thriving MSP. It's an amazing story. What would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to that day one in the pickup truck?
Oh, that this is really gonna take off, and this is gonna be bigger than you could ever imagine. And I probably would have scared the crap out of myself if I had told myself that one day you will have a company with employees. Probably would have freaked out because that was not my goal at that time. My
Wow.
goal was just to fix computers and make some money.
Okay. Yeah. I love that even starting out day one, you just knew it would take off. And that's exciting. I think so many people thinking about day ones of businesses, it's more of, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I love that you bet on yourself. You believed in yourself. You knew you were going to be big. That's great. So,
Yeah.
what's the weirdest thing you've ever fixed for a client?
The weirdest thing I've ever fixed. I have done fax machines, camera systems. I had a client, and it's not weird, but they're the only client that ever done this. They actually came to me with the manuals to their phone system and handed them to me and said, "Would you learn it?"
Oh, wow.
And that was an old Meridian phone system, which were very popular in the 80s and 90s and really into the 2000s because they last forever. So I did, and I took off with phone systems, and that's been part of my business for a very long time.
Oh, that's interesting because those manuals were really big. I remember
Yeah.
having one at my desk where we had those phone systems, and yeah, it was yeah, a learning curve for a phone, which I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Oh, and every phone system was different too. Just because you learn that one, the next one from the other next company was totally different. Yeah.
Yeah,
Except
yeah,
it was at the time the most popular phone system, at least around here, if not America. They were big.
mhm, that's
So
great. You started in 2001. Tell me about that. Tell me a little bit more about what got you started. Have you always been into computers?
I've always been into computers. I got into computer math in high school. They had a couple of courses. I was lucky on Apple IIe's. So I was lucky, took some basic programming and stuff in there. And so I wanted to go to college and I picked computers because I thought it was easy. That was it. It was easy for me to do and it was a starting point. So I got my bachelor's in computer science. And with that bachelor's degree, I learned that I did not want to do programming. We did a lot of programming. So I learned that was something I did not want to do. But I did take understanding some basic programming and taking a database class has been incredibly helpful through my career.
Yeah.
Databases haven't really changed. So knowing and having some background, I actually did some database work not long after I got out of college using a program called FoxPro, building out databases. And that's just anytime I come across databases or taking care of databases, they're fundamentally the same. So I'm really grateful for that background. Yeah, so I spent around 10 years working corporate world. And in 1999, I got a job at a smaller computer consulting firm. Back then, they were called VARs or value added resellers. And it was about, there's 12 or 13 of us. And 18 months later, I found myself the senior employee. That's how many people you went through. And I also found myself fired.
Oh,
But I've been thinking about going on my own because I love the work. I loved all my clients. I loved going into all these businesses and seeing behind the scenes and how they use IT. It's such an eclectic group of clients from all different industries. There was no specialties back then. When I got fired, I turned around and it was right before Thanksgiving. And I sent Christmas cards to all of the customers I had worked with. Just loved working with you. I'm no longer with the firm. Hope you have a good holiday. And I think every one of them reached back out to me because back then you have back in the old days, we had phone books and the return address had my phone number was in the phone book.
True.
So I had a non-compete for a year, couldn't work for them, but I could get referrals from them. And I stayed in touch with all of them. And when my non-compete was up, I haven't looked back. It's
Wow.
been gangbusters.
That's amazing. And that's
So
what
sometimes getting fired is a good kick in the butt.
yeah, for sure. And also shows relationships are everything, right?
They are everything. Yeah. The relationship was with me, not with the owner of the company.
Right.
That's also a lesson to be learned.
Yeah. 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 How long after getting fired did you come up with the idea and just go gangbusters? Or was
I got fired up for Thanksgiving. January 1, 2001 is when I went on my own officially.
amazing?
So I had been thinking about it. I had been, because I knew things were not well in this company. It's very toxic. So I was like, I can do this better and I can do it with integrity.
Yeah.
You can make money at this, being honest.
Yeah. So true. So true. What was your biggest challenge being a one-person IT shop?
Well, being a one-person IT shop is a challenge.
Wait,
So I had to coordinate vacations, sick time is always tough. Knowing other people that were doing what I was doing helped. So you had people that could cover for you. But it was tough taking time off.
Yeah.
It was tough. And for a brief period, in 2005, I got pregnant. So that was a big challenge.
Wow.
So when she was born in 2006, I had actually merged with another company that was doing MSP, had just started the MSP stuff.
Okay.
And I learned a lot about MSP during that time. Stayed there about 3 years and then went back on my own. We had a deal where I could always take my clients back.
Great.
I stayed there about 3 years, and then when she was older, I went back out on my own.
Another great testament of relationships and partnering instead of competition, it's co-opetition.
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic. Was there ever a day you thought about throwing in the towel?
No, I don't want to work for anybody again. Just can't go back. I can't go back.
Yeah. And I see this all the time with Gozynta's growth program. MSPs just starting out, trying to keep up with demand. And then suddenly they need to figure out hiring, scaling, and structuring a real business. When did that shift happen to you?
I was on my own to 20. I was back on my own after that. And of course, we were recovering. The economy took a hit in 2008, 2009. So I'm back on my own. And the economy is just, I think I went almost 2 years without selling a server, which everything was servers back then. So everybody was holding on to them. It was rough. And then it broke loose and then people were buying again. Things were taking off. In 2012, I made that one of the big changes in my company was shifting to managed services. I wasn't sold on it 100% until then, until I couldn't keep the viruses and malware at bay without better tools and constant monitoring. That's when the shift to MSP happened to me. And that was a big dynamic. In 2012, I signed 2 really big clients for MSP and I hired my first person.
Wow. A lot of companies, when they're thinking about going from break fix to managed services, they're worried about the challenges that they'll face with that. What was the hardest part for you of transitioning from traditional break fix to managed services?
Finding the right tools. So I bought a tool that was technically too big for me, but I knew I'd grow into. It's called Autotask. It did way more than I ever needed, but I don't want to have to change and outgrow it. So I picked a tool I would not outgrow. And back then, that was obviously before Kaseya bought them. And so find the right tools, how to bill it properly, manage it properly are big challenges, billing it properly. But then again, Autotask was the tool. Once I figured out how to set up all the contracts and stuff, I could automate a lot of that. And converting the clients really wasn't that hard. I basically said, I can no longer do a good job the way I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But they were seeing me. They were seeing my struggles. And I said, I can't keep up with the malware. I can't keep up with this stuff. I got to have these tools. They got to be on all the time. Instead of me stopping by once, I was doing once a month maintenance. Instead of that, I need 30 days of maintenance, so to speak. I need these tools. So I really had no problem converting clients.
That's great, because that is such a big fear that people have, is how they're going to convince their existing clients. So I think that's great advice for people out there. How did you find, you started hiring, you hired your first person when you became an MSP. How did you find those right people and let go of doing everything yourself? Because that's a big moment.
Gosh. The first person to hire was an admin, because I was doing all the billing. I was doing all the taxes. I was doing everything. I tried my hand at payroll, and it was awful. I said, I don't want to do payroll. That's just a chore. So I actually went through a company called Robert Half, and they did accountants. That is a temp agency. So the first one was a flop, and the second person I got stayed with me a number of years. She was really good. People was a lot harder. Golly, hiring people was scary. Finding the right people's awful, and I made a lot of mistakes. That's just a sharp learning curve. And honestly, I should have got coaching, because I spent a lot of time and money learning the hard way.
Yeah.
Coaching would have been good to have somebody say, no, this is how you do it. I got lucky because I found somebody that used to work with me at the company I got fired from. He was in a job, and he was a tech. He was a Microsoft certified technical admin, and they stuck him in the accounting department, and he hated it. And I said, come here to my company. You can do IT. And he wanted time off to spend more with his grandkids. So I said, well, you pick your hours. Having somebody solid like that, and he was older than me. So just that was great. Now that really made a difference in my company. And I learned a lot about customer service from him. He was really good at it. And he loved his job. He got to take 3, 4, 5-day weekends. And if I needed him for a project, he was there. If things were slow, he was just a part-time employee, didn't pay benefits. So I got really lucky.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's those pivotal moments where you bring somebody on the team that is an expert in something that you're not an expert in, and you learn so much. And sometimes I think people shy away from that. They want to be the smartest one in the room. And I recently wrote a blog post about, I am definitely not the smartest person in the company anymore, because I hired above me. And that's the way to do it, because you can't know everything. So bringing in a team of superstars that can help lift everybody up is just a fantastic thing. Yeah. I have this special section of this. It's a MSP lightning round. These are just some kind of fun questions that, yeah, I think you'll have fun with them. What's one client disaster story that had a surprising ending?
Let's see. Disaster story that had a surprising ending. I had one of my clients, the original. So when I got fired from the firm, I actually kept a lot of those clients for a long time. And one of them was a supplier in Japan. So they had facilities over here, because Toyota's real close to where I live. So there's a lot of parts manufacturers around here. So they made a big change, and they had a new IT manager come in, and I thought that was it. I was like, man, he came in and met with me in Lexington. By that time, this was also the client that had handed me the manuals on the phone system. But I actually got the phone system replaced with the VoIP one. And I was showing him the phone system. Back then, we were in the cloud with the phone system. And I thought that was it. And I didn't hear from him for 2 years. Then I get the call. They're building a big new facility in a town next door. And over a 5-year span, they built, I bet probably close to $500,000 in cabling projects and stuff.
Wow.
So the first building they did, I had hired my cabling guy to go. Oh, here's a disaster. I'd hired him. I like helping people that are smaller like me to go in and cable this massive warehouse. You're on lifts. It's a multi-day. It was probably a $25,000 project, easy. And the construction company running the site complained to him because he showed up in shorts.
Oh, no.
They were running a real safe site. And you had to be, if you were operating a lift, you had to go through their lift certification program to operate a lift on their construction site. And one of his employees went off on the construction manager
Oh, no.
and they got kicked off the property. And this is my subcontractor. And I talked to the owner and he was defending his employee. And I said, look, that's the requirement. I said, bye. Grabbed my team. We went down there dressed appropriately, took the little 45-minute class test, got certified to run the lifts, and we pulled all the cable.
Wow. Wow. That's
That's
amazing.
how I salvaged that. And I was pissed. But the thing is, I found yet another company that one employee had hired who wanted to work part-time, knew of another company in the town next door. And I called them because they were doing another building. They had plans for members close to $500,000 in projects over 5 years. So this other company worked with me and did all that work, still works with me to this day. And they did a ton of work for me.
Fantastic.
But
Fantastic.
man, I had to salvage that one. That was
Wow.
pretty stressful. But I'd done a lot of cabling. And so we were doing cabling, pulling cables, setting cabinets 30 feet in the air and everything, the lifts. It was pretty
Wow.
cool. But I don't want to do that all the time.
No, we didn't want that to be the job for the next 5 years.
No, the other company, though, made a ton of money.
I'm sure. I'm
They
sure.
had no problem dressing appropriately and taking the little test.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got to watch who you partner with.
That is so true. That is so true. And not be afraid to, when it comes time, just cut ties because, oh, yeah, you wouldn't have been able to save it otherwise. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great advice. If you could bring back one old school piece of tech, what would it be?
Old school piece of tech. I'm probably still using it. Let me see. So at home, I have a pair of, from the 90s, late 90s, a pair of Cambridge audio speakers. They are like this tall and they have awesome sound. I'm sorry. These new speakers, they're just lousy. Those suckers are great. And I just laugh when I see them. I got this $2,000 monitor at home, this real wide curve. And then there's my Cambridge, 30-year-old Cambridge speakers that I got from clients. They would upgrade and get new stuff. And I collected them from a client at some point. And then this HP sitting next to me is a color printer I got from a client. I replaced theirs, and I know this is close to 20 years old. It's funny. If it works, old HP, man, that's great. Old school HP, if they would have just left it alone. I don't want to create a login to use my printer. I just want to print.
Yeah, they're both doing the job.
Like I said, I'm like, no, I'm probably still using the I love my finger.
If it's not broke. What's one IT myth that drives you crazy?
Oh, that Macs can't get viruses.
Oh,
Macs are so secure. Yeah. I learned all about viruses from Macs. When I was at University of Kentucky, I was lucky. I got to be a student consultant. So I worked in the computer lab. Okay. I worked in labs 3 of the 4 years I was there. I actually graduated with experience. And we had a computer lab and we had 6 Mac SEs. People would wait in line to use them. The virus is horrible. Man, we had McAfee. We were constantly battling that. Why people think that they're perfect, I don't know. I learned all about viruses from Macs. They were horrible at that time. And that's just, because any disk you put in, any floppy you put in, immediately read it. And that's where they would park stuff to immediately get picked up. And so that drives me crazy. I tell people, oh my gosh. And the other thing is, I'm too small to get hacked. They're not after me. Let me tell you. I got stories upon stories of small companies getting hacked.
Yeah, that's a big one as well. The first one's just a bit of good marketing from Apple, I think. They did a great job there.
No.
Because I hear that
Well,
all the
get that
time.
from. Golly. They've gotten better. Now, Macs have gotten really good on their security. Sometimes it can be a real pill to manage remotely, thanks to all that security.
True.
But if it wasn't challenging, we wouldn't have a job.
Very true. What's one mistake MSPs make all the time?
Not taking care of their people. I know that because we hire from other MSPs. I just treat them like crap.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. Most of the employees that I want to keep stay 3 to 5 years. I think that's really good for the industry. But treating the people well, I've been treated badly, so I treat them the way I wanted to be treated. Again, when that firm fired me, I learned how to not manage people.
You and I did a webinar together for the National Society of IT Service Providers. And if you're not a member of that, anyone listening, you should be. Why are you not? But they're working to professionalize the industry. So get involved in that. But Tracy and I did a joint webinar on HR and hiring practices. And I know Tracy is really strong in having a great culture and how that allows her to compete with other companies that maybe can offer a bigger salary, but that's not what it's all about anymore. And that's what we're finding at Gozynta as well. It's all about culture. So Tracy, can you talk a little bit about how you developed that?
Well, I got a coach. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
He helped us a lot at the beginning. And just talking to them, getting feedback, what they like, what helps, what kind of things do they look for when they work for a company. The ones that worked for other MSPs, the stories that they would tell, things they didn't like, things that happened, learning from that. And we made mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you can put all this stuff in place. Occasionally, you're going to hire the wrong person. And not letting those toxic people stay. That's huge. You got to let them go because it's going to poison the whole group.
Yeah. Hire slow, fire fast. And that's one of the biggest things is you lose some of your best people if you let somebody that's not great be part of the team for long periods of time. So really important thing to do. And as Tracy mentioned, having a coach is so important. Having somebody in those early days that can help with getting value-based business practices and value-based hiring, that's the way to be able to get that team that you need to move things to the next level. So there's always that breakthrough moment in building a business that all of a sudden things start clicking. So where instead of just surviving, your business is really thriving. Do you remember that moment, Tracy?
It took a while. To me, when you can go on vacation for a week or two and things run, that's, to me, is where you need to be at. That's like a great litmus test. Can the whole place run without you? Ronnie Goodpaster is my vice president and now partner, and he's been with me 10 years. I can go on vacation and really go on vacation. He runs the business. But that started years ago. And one thing I learned is you got to prepare people for that. It's not something you can just do. So you got to start handing people responsibility so they can do it and trust and extending that. And it's really hard to do. Everybody's not going to do it the way I would do it. You just got to accept that. If you can't accept that, then you don't need to hire.
All right.
Just do it on yourself. But that's going to limit your growth. And those vacations will be few and far between. So I spent years really doing a lot of processes, procedures, putting things on paper, how you want them done so other people can follow them and getting the right people in the right seats to do it.
Right.
And then you got to keep them. They got to stay with you to learn how you do things. So again, that goes back to the whole culture. So it's a lot of layers. And that's, to me, being able to go on vacation, or if you're sick and you're taking time off, that's not having to worry. To me, that was just huge. And that doesn't have anything to do with the dollar sign on the bottom line.
It's true. It's true. And it's a lot of work in the back end, getting those procedures, figuring out your values. I know for us, and we coach MSPs on this all the time, really thinking about your values is not just, oh, I need to get this done, but that's the way your employees are able to figure out what you would do when you're on vacation. Oh, I can make decisions because I understand the values and I can live the values. And thus I can make those decisions so Tracy and Heather can go on vacation and have some time to rest because it's so important. So doing those kind of um, they seem, oh, mission and vision. Oh, I don't want to do that. But they're so important. They're so key. And same with procedures. I hear a lot of times, oh, it's all up here. That's great. But you want to do other things, right? So important. What is the biggest shift that transformed your business?
Oh, that was big on MSP. That whole thought process, that is just such a change. Now I can't imagine I would not do a one-person IT shop right now. There's no way you can know everything. I can't know everything. I got techs, they're specialized in areas. IT was huge. When I started IT, I could be the one IT person and I knew everything for all industries. I was all over the place, whether it's medical or banking or veterinary clinics. I was everything. Now it's so specialized. There's so much to know. You just can't. You've got to have a team.
Yeah.
And I get prospects coming in and they'll say, I have this one IT guy. I think, though, we've outgrown him. I hear that a lot because she can't keep up with it all. It's just impossible. You need a team.
Yeah.
And when that one person gets sick or goes on vacation or is too busy to get to you, it hurts.
Yeah.
So with us, we have a team. I let my techs go on vacation and it's okay. I have a team to cover it. It's not crisis now.
That's
You're
great.
not relying on one person.
Yeah. Yeah. For an MSP owner that's struggling to break past break fix, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
You can't sell MSP unless you believe in it. If you yourself are not sold on it, when I became sold on it, when I saw the need and I realized I could not do a good job anymore, I had no problem selling it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And that's really in anything sales. If you don't believe in it, you can't sell it. You
Yeah.
can't sell
There's
it.
a lot
And
of people that don't believe in MSP. And there's a lot of people that make great money not doing MSP because there's a lot of companies that don't want MSP.
right.
So not everybody has to be MSP in my world, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Last big question, Tracy. When you look at everything you've built, what are you the most proud of?
I have an actual company with a sign up front and a van in front that's got my name, the name of the company on it, and a whole team that relies on it to make their living and support their families. That's really cool.
That is cool.
We have a world here, and it means a lot to the people in this building.
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. And that is a wrap on today's episode of the MSP Growth Podcast. If Tracy's story inspired you, let us know, hit subscribe, leave a review, or connect with us and Tracy online. And if you're an MSP looking for your next breakthrough moment, check out the Gozynta Growth Program, where we help MSPs fine-tune their strategy, streamline operations, and take their business to the next level.
Yes,
Until
don't
next-
reinvent the wheel. That is really important. Gosh, do not reinvent the wheel. MSP is hard. A lot of requirements.
And there's
Second
people who have done it. You might as well get the right information to get you going faster and smoother and get you on
Yep.
vacation.
So you can take a vacation. And you'll find Heather and I at National Society of IT Service Providers, NSITSP.org. We're very active members there. We always looking for volunteers.
We are. We need volunteers there too. And it's a great way to meet other MSPs, learn from them as well, because always keep learning. Until
Have
next.
a voice in your profession.
Yes, very
Because
important.
we're trying to make it a real profession.
Yeah. Yeah. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and remember, every challenge is just another chapter.